Subsequent to the fall of man, God has shown sides of himself to mankind and authorized them to illuminate or point to the God that men cannot see in an attempt to call them into relationship. Man falls, man loses the intimate knowledge of God. Eventually, over time, man's knowledge of God fades away, and he shows himself to people, individuals, and shows sides of himself, and then gives them the authority to tell people about who he is. Now, that means giving people the authority to talk about God might sound strange to us because everybody can testify. We just take that for granted. Back then, there were specific people who were allowed to talk about God and talk about revelation of God, and not just within the Jewish culture, but within the regional culture and the group and the area of the ancient Near Eastern peoples. You couldn't just get up and talk about who God was authoritatively and definitively. There were specific people, and that was it. But God starts to reveal himself to individuals and gives them a story to tell. And I just jotted down some of them. We talked last time about major transitions in who God shows himself to be through different covenants throughout the Bible, but even on an individual basis throughout the history of man. In Noah, he showed himself to be a judge and a deliverer. Through Abraham, he showed himself to be a provider. In Isaac, he showed himself to be a transformer. With Jacob, he shows himself to be a fulfiller of dreams. And then we've got Moses. God turns Moses, elevates him into a god under Pharaoh. What that meant, Pharaoh and the region. Moses came out of an Egyptian culture. Pharaoh was a god in that culture. He was a god. When God calls Moses, God tells Moses, I'm going to make you a god to Pharaoh. I'm going to elevate you and allow you to show everybody who doesn't know who I am, because at this point, Israel isn't intimately familiar with God. They just know Yahweh as the God of the, or actually at this point, I'm sorry, it wasn't Yahweh, it was Jehovah. They knew the Jehovah God as the God of their forefathers, but they didn't know the great I am. So he elevates Moses, makes him a god over the god Pharaoh, so that way everybody can see, illuminate what's been darkened to show everybody who God really is. In each of these, and you find that in Exodus 7:1, by the way, I'll make you a god unto Pharaoh. In each of these revelations, God creates a story to be told and authorizes the story to be told as a part of the heritage of revelation. And like I previously stated, that in that time and culture, just anybody was not permitted to speak definitively about the character of God. Those who carried the oral traditions of the gods were held in high esteem. Thus, God gave men throughout history the authority to carry the story of God's revelation, build monuments and altars as testaments to God's character, and he authorizes men to bring clarity where the devil has brought confusion. He authorizes man to reveal his character to those who do not know him.